Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Big Picture Manatee. We're really excited to be back with an episode today to talk about two really important things that's happened in the last week or so. First, we're going to be talking about the primary election results on August 20 in Manatee County and how those came out and who the candidates are. Second, we'd like to then talk about what happened at the Manatee County Board of County Commissioners meeting on August 27th. And there was a little bit of a reversal on some things. So I'm Sherry Corrier. I'm here along with my colleagues on the Big Picture Manatee, where we educate, inform, and bring you up to date on key issues in Manatee County. We love having you here, and we're going to start off. I'm going to real quick say I'm very excited about seeing these results in the primary, and that's because now there are all new things to talk about here. So, Misty, take it.
Thank you. It's so good to be with you guys again. And I'm Misty Servia, former county commissioner, longtime resident, urban planner, and so happy to be doing this show because, for me to see the grassroots effort that occurred locally with so many different groups of people all moving in the same direction and saying the same thing, I still wasn't confident that that was going to be able to be successful against millions, let's face it, millions of dollars spent to elect certain people, but it was successful. And it was really surprising to me, and it just such a wonderful day to feel like Manatee County came back to the people. I mean, I knew this day would come. I really did have the optimism that it was coming, but I didn't know it was all going to happen in one clean sweep. And so happy that it did. And I just want to say thank you to all the people who helped make that possible. And that includes the Bradenton Times, the Bradenton Journal, the East Manatee Preservation Association, of course, the Blue Puppet, Kevin Kyle Kazin, the Big Picture Manatee, Take Back Manatee. And I don't want to leave anyone out because there were so many great groups that all got out there and worked hard, and we did it. What do you think, Reggie?
Oh, wow. Take Back Manatee is what took place on August the 20th. My name is Reggie Bellamy, and I am a former county commissioner, Democrat from District 2. And the reason why I say Democrat is because we had no voice in some of these elections. And I said when it all took place, the Republicans will make a decision on how certain elections took place. And I'm excited. From my former high school, we always say we are Manatee, and that's what took place. we are Manatee. But the fortunate reality, the fortunate reality of all this is there were the community citizens actually voice was heard. And I think that's very, very important for us never to lose sight is that we're always being watched, and our actions will obviously we will have to be held accountable for our actions. So here we are. We are talking about what took place on August the 20th, and we are moving forward, anticipating what's next. And I'm excited.
Yeah, the people. I think that's like the big word, right? The people. And the people are in a lot of different aspects for this particular primary. And it was so interesting as the momentum built for people to learn and for people to come forward with their concerns. There was a lot of things that happened leading up to throughout this whole summer. Let's just put it that way. There were natural things that happened, natural disasters that happened that impacted people. There were efforts, like you're saying, with some of the organizations that come together, Take Back Manatee, the Bradenton Journal, all of those. Like you said, Misty, I don't want to leave anybody out. I think the Bradenton Times, though, over the last several years has really come forward with some investigative journalism that we haven't seen from media outlets anywhere, really small communities across the country. And while a lot of those things might have seemed negative, they're factual, they're, positive or negative. We're looking for factual information, and most of the residents, that's what they want. They wanted the facts. They wanted them to be able to make their own decisions. And I think a lot of people were really taken aback by the mailers, that there were so many mailers that came out. And I think it's the first time in so many years or ever that people got 10, 12, 15 mailers in a 3 to 4 week span, primarily from certain individuals. And they were pretty nasty, to be honest with you. And I got a lot of people asking me that really had not been that involved in voting before, like, what does that mean? And, our motto here at the Big Picture Manatee is to get educated, educate yourself. Know the different candidates, know what they stand for, what their platform is, look and see who's providing them with financial dollars. And so what Missy, you were saying, which there's a lot of money in this primary election. And I think that's what happened, is that individual people went out and started really looking at things. I know we brought Kathy Antunes back and showed some of the things that she has done over the years, where people can look on a statewide level at these different PACs and even where the money comes from. And so as that curtain was kind of drawn back, I really feel like people made their own individual choices based on knowledge and information. And I couldn't be more proud of Manatee County residents that were involved in voting, which it was down a little bit, right? 25% or so showed up, but those people came because they were informed and educated, and they wanted to make their vote count.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's Mitch Maley who I'll quote. He said something like, that money and those postcards only work as long as you don't have an educated electorate. And that he was exactly right, because once people knew what was going on, they voted differently. Yeah, I'm so proud of everyone. So let's talk a little bit about what happened immediately after that election, because that was very telling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I'll start off by saying I am so happy and so energized that the silly parking garage planned for the island is now tabled, and hopefully not another dime is going to be spent towards that effort. And I really have to give a shout out to the mayor of Holmes Beach, to Mayor Titsworth, for standing her ground and her principles and representing her constituents on what was right, even when some really big names came out and said, no, she's wrong, and here's why. That was really hard for her. She did an amazing job, and she helped carry this action also forward, because that was a big waste of taxpayer money. It was not founded in data, and it was strictly a political move. And I'm so happy that that's now gone. But there's so much more.
The reality of that is I have to commend Mayor Tisworth's grit, because she did stand her ground. And I recall a couple of conversations when I was communicating with her as a county commissioner, and I seen that look in her eye. It's like, hey, I'm not budging. I'm not budging. I think her family has maybe 5, 6 generations out there on Holmes Beach, and she was fighting for what she believed in, and she was fighting for what she thought was right. And I commend her efforts on that. All the other things that took place on the 27th, not to go too far in it, but to make sure that the clerk received back the historical parks and a lot of the other things that took place. There's a reality that there's a new day. it's unfortunate that the county had to experience some of those things, and there was so much turbulence and trials, and actually a lot of it divided our community in my mindset, and I think that's very, very, very unfortunate. But here we are, and it sounds like there's some momentum going where you have people, not just the generations, but other people that have transitioned in, and now they are Manatee Countyans, and they want things done the right way. Their expectations are for the community to have a voice to the leadership, and for the leadership to understand that that voice rules, and that voice has to be heard and listened to. And I think that's very, very important. What do you think about that, Sherry?
Well, you're right. And I think that a lot of things that have happened in the past couple of years for the community are that work sessions have, basically been eliminated. So even to get to having a $60 million parking garage project out on the island, not a whole lot of details were shared. Had they been, people might understand the reasoning behind that, but for people like us, we couldn't even find the reasoning behind that. So I think that folks have said now, we understand things have to be done, things will change. The community changes, it's really growing so fast, but that you can't, you just can't force things to happen. And so that's what we like about what happened on Tuesday, which is by taking those three very expensive parking garage projects and just setting them aside, no more expenditures right now. That'd be Holmes Beach, the parking garage we're talking about, the one out at Premier Sports, and also the one at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So to pull those back, it still leaves the county parking garage, which is adjacent to and connected to the county administration building downtown. And we all know that that one has some structural issues, so it probably has to come forward. But I think a couple of things that we've been bringing up is that to do those kinds of projects at a time when inflation is so high and expenditures are higher than they've ever been, is also something that you need to be careful about, because that has elevated the cost to unbelievable heights, and the disruption that things like that take without any kind of thought about where you're going to put all these people out there on the island during a construction like that. So I'm really happy that those things happen. The clerk receiving back the historical sites, I think is refreshing, because they certainly have that history. It's something that Chip Shore started way back when, and to still have him and his legacy involved in that is really what the historical resources, for Manatee County is all about. And so I'm pretty excited about that. And then the last thing that was interesting was about bringing back the opportunity for citizens to comment on social media on the county's websites, which had been arbitrarily removed at a meeting with no reasoning given. And now that's coming back. And there's also been a request to the attorney's office about putting together a policy for that. So those are the three things that happened that right away, based on this change, were very interesting. And the other interesting thing is that they were unanimously supported, except for one thing. And I got to say, for my district, we do not have a commissioner on the board. We have not had representation in District 1 since March of this year. So all of the votes are with 6 people and a whole community out here with really barely any voice. I know we have at-large commissioners, but we don't have our own district commissioner. So I just got to put a plug in for District 1 that the people out here really want to make sure that things are done also with this group in mind.
Talk about excitement out of the gate, huh?
Yeah.
Got a lot done. And I was excited to see the board come together in unity on most of those votes. That's something that's been missing when it's clearly the right thing. I was also surprised. I think it was Van Ostenbridge who made the motion in a couple of those, which I'm not going to say anything cynical about that. Instead, I'm going to say I hope that continues. I hope he really does believe, as he said, that the people have spoken, and I hope he really is going to honor that. And so the future will tell us what is happening. But you did see a 180-degree turn from that board, and I hope it continues to face the people and nowhere else.
So just listening to the community, I guess, you know, some of my thoughts about would be what's next. I'm glad some of the things that took place, and I don't know whether or not I missed it, but I am concerned, will citizens have the ability to call in? I know the social media was on, that they can communicate via there, but you know, at one time they stopped everything. And I'm a little concerned about that. Did they restore all of that, Sherry?
No, not all of it, not everything.
Right, right. So there's some more work that
Yep.
needs to be considered, and some things that need to be done, because again, the community has spoken, and I think the message in that is that, you know, we want to be heard, whether it's through social media, whether we get our 3 minutes to come up there and communicate, or whether we call in and get our 3 minutes.
Mhm.
And I recall when we were commissioners, or when we were commissioners, the most important thing is, you know, yeah, go ahead. We want to hear you out for your 3 minutes, and find a way where we can impact, or we can make a difference in what you're suggesting and what you're bringing to our attention. It's not that at that time, I don't think we did not want to hear, but what took place after we left and after other people left, all of a sudden the voice cannot be heard at all. That's very, very unfortunate. And I think we need to look at that. And as a new citizen of District 1, yes, we do need some representation. We do need a voice, and we're anticipating that to take place on November the 5th. And I'm sure individuals have their different thoughts about that. So the next steps, in my thought, is for the community to stay engaged, and for you continue to know your candidates, and to continue to fight for your right to have a voice in what takes place in Manatee County.
Yep, well, great. I know we just want to touch the surface real quickly of what happened. We're always watching. There's some excitement in the community that there has been the people's voice, and that will continue. So as we close out today, a little bit of a reminder that the primary election created the final candidates for District 1. As we mentioned out here, they also created final candidates for District 3 and District 5, and then the at-large position. At-large, I believe it is number 7. And so those will all be moving towards that election date. Reggie mentioned November 5th. So we would encourage all of you to go take a look at those candidates that are there now, the ones that made it through the primary. And then also there's a supervisor of elections final selection for November 5th too. So those are your Manatee County positions. There are obviously states, national things to be looking at, but as we move on, we just want to close out by saying, keep becoming informed, keep becoming educated. You can go to the Supervisor of Elections website to learn more about those candidates. And we appreciate you here today. Appreciate all of your support. We've been hearing from people across the region that they've been watching the Big Picture Manatee. Mary and Bradenton, thank you so much for coming forward and saying that you've been being educated. And Karen over in Arcadia, thank you as well. And for all of those for you. So thanks so much from our team here, and stay tuned for coming episodes.